Hello and welcome, everyone. Very excited to have each and every one of you here. Thank you for the questions you submitted ahead of time. I think we'll do a good job of addressing those as we go through the conversation today. And of course, you're invited to ask more questions. One way you can do that is in the chat box, and I will monitor that as we go through the conversation and respond to those questions. In addition to that, we do record this. I will send the recording out to everyone that registered afterwards, so you will have access to seeing it again. It'll be on our YouTube channel. If you are brave and want to come on live and you're okay with being in that recording we put there, love to have you come in live and ask your questions that way as well. Just give me a note in the chat box to unmute you and I can do that. We find that's a lot of fun to bring additional voices into the room. The agenda for the conversation today. First, we'll define coaching and talk about the journey for becoming a coach and earning a credential. We'll discuss coaching statistics and insights overall. Walk you through the Center for Coaching Certification Staircase to Success coaching model, and we'll also talk coaching process. We'll discuss the pros and cons of certification, the reasons people choose certification at the Center for Coaching Certification, what to look for in a training program wherever you go, the opportunities for you as a coach, and we'll give you a good overview of the programs offered at the Center for Coaching Certification. Diving in. This definition comes from the International Coaching Federation. They are the gold standard in the coaching profession. That is where our code of ethics comes from, our competencies, and that is where credentialing happens, is at the International Coaching Federation. The language of this definition, to me, says so much. First, it starts with coaching is partnering. The reason that is so significant is typically when we hire a professional, whether we're hiring an attorney or an accountant or a financial planner or a mental health professional, our thought process, our perception is that professional is the expert. And we hold them out as having that expertise, being the one who's going to have the answers. In coaching, it's truly partnering. We are on a level playing field with our clients. As a matter of fact, we hold our clients as their own best expert. Our role in this partnership, it goes on to say in the definition, is a thought-provoking and creative process. So bringing to them that process that inspires them to maximize their own personal and professional potential. Absolutely exciting, and the definition says so much about how coaching is different than other roles we have. So, what is the International Coaching Federation? First off, they are a nonprofit organization. It is a membership organization of coaching professionals. They are the gold standard in the coaching profession. That is where we get our code of ethics. Members of the ICF are accountable to the code of ethics, and they have standards. So they have standards for training programs. That is the single most important thing you want to look for when you think about coach training. There are literally hundreds of schools out there, just like ours. ICF approves training programs. You want to make sure whichever program you pick is approved by the ICF. They also have standards for membership. They require 60 hours of coach training to be a member. And they have standards for credentialing. And I know several people had questions about that. We're going to walk through what those requirements are. Very specifically, to become a member of the International Coaching Federation, which is really the minimum in terms of saying, yeah, I'm a coach and pursuing that. that requires 60 hours of training. The ICF then offers 3 different levels of credentialing. If I am giving you an analogy for this, let's play with it. Think about going to school and getting an education. If you earn an associate's degree, a 2-year degree, that's much like becoming a member of the ICF. That's your associate's degree. If you then continue on and earn the first level of credentialing, that's a lot like saying, okay, now I got my degree. What's required for this? The 60 hours of training is the same 60 hours required for the ACC credential. They also will require you to have coaching experience, 100 hours, to work with a mentor coach for 10 hours. And they have very specific parameters around that mentor coaching. One of the things that you're doing in the mentor coaching is working on recording yourself as a coach, because you will submit a recording of yourself to ICF that will be assessed, and you're passing that assessment at the ACC level. And then they have you take an exam. They call it the Coach Knowledge Assessment. The next level of credentialing is much like saying, okay, I've earned a master's degree. And if you think about the master's degree in the working world and what that means, that's the equivalent. At this level, they require 125 hours of training. So your 60 hours is part of that. You will have additional hours to complete. They require 100 hours of experience. That is part of the 500 hours. Obviously, you're talking more hours. The mentor coaching, if you used your mentor coaching hours to apply for the ACC credential, you will be using it again to apply, doing it again, excuse me, for the PCC credential. So once that mentor coaching is used for a credential, you do it again for the next level. At the PCC level, you have 2 recordings of yourself. And yes, you're working with your mentor coach on those as well. And then you have the Coach Knowledge Assessment. If you take this exam at the ACC level, you do not have to repeat it at the PCC level. If it's the same exam, they're saying, okay, you already took it. So it's important to note that much of this carries forward. In terms of the MCC credential, which is the next level, they require you to have your PCC first and to hold it for 3 years. What that means to all of us right now is that we will focus on those first 3 steps: membership, the ACC credential, and the PCC credential, because you're going to work through those first. That's where we start. I'm hoping that clarified some of the questions you all had ahead of time. As I mentioned, feel free to pop additional questions into the chat box. In the meantime, what does this look like, this journey, this process, when you work with us at the Center for Coaching Certification? So the first thing you'll do with us is earn your Certified Professional Coach designation. It's a 30-hour training program. It is incredibly valuable for people who are checking coaching out. You're investigating, you're determining, hey, is this the right path for me? It is also incredibly helpful for those of you that have a professional position and you want to learn coaching skills to apply them in what you already do. It is foundational for those of you wanting to continue on and move into coaching as a profession. After the Certified Professional Coach program, we offer the Certified Master Coach program. That is 35 hours of training. What that means to you is the 2 combined complete the hours that ICF will require for you to join as a member. So when you've completed those first 2 programs, you have the opportunity to join the ICF. At that time, you're choosing, are you going to continue on the journey for the ACC, Or are you going to go straight for the PCC? It's up to you. If you choose to go to the ACC, you'll be working on gaining your coaching experience hours, completing your mentor coaching, and during that mentor coaching, working with your mentor coach to have a recording of yourself coaching. At ICF, they will have you submit your certificates for training. You have to have a log of your coaching experience hours. You'll submit the information on your mentor coaching, and the recording will be submitted, both the recording and the transcript, to ICF. When they verify all of that and have the recording assessed and you pass, then they will invite you to take the CKA exam. When you successfully pass that, that's how you earn the ACC credential. You then have the opportunity to continue on toward the PCC credential. Alternatively, you can also go to the PCC directly, beginning to end. So if you decide to go from the initial professional coach training and master coach training and continue on straight to your PCC, you're working on logging your coaching hours. You have to have 500 hours. You'll be doing additional training. The Certified Coach Specialist program is 35 hours, and the coaching experience class is 30 hours. You'll again work with a mentor coach and work on having 2 recordings of yourself coaching that will pass at the PCC level. Then if you haven't taken the exam yet, you'll be taking the exam, and successfully completing that is how you earn the PCC credential. Ideally, this makes it clear some of the things you're doing through a coach training school, some of them you're doing independently, and then of course some of them are only available through the International Coaching Federation. Hoping that clarified the questions that came in ahead of time. So far, I'm not seeing anything else in the chat box, so I'm guessing we're good to go, and we'll continue. A couple of insights about the coaching profession. It's cited as the second fastest growing profession in the world, IT being number 1. I love this quote from Forbes magazine. It's very straightforward. Do you have a coach? If not, you could be limiting your career success. And what's really cool is that it is backed up by the research. One of my favorite studies was done at Amoco, which today is part of British Petroleum. And one of the reasons I love it so much is it was done over a 10-year period of time. So the longevity of the study is fabulous. And here's what they found. The people who had a coach had improved performance, increased ratings of potential for advancement, and 50% higher average salary increases. That's phenomenal. Talk about opportunity in terms of career success. Coaching is clearly a factor in how people do. And being a coach is absolutely a privilege because we partner with them for that level of success. It is considered the organizational development tool of choice for leaders and emerging leaders. Harvard Business Review did a study, and they looked at the reason companies hire coaches for their employees. And here's what they found. 48% of the time, it was to develop high potentials or to facilitate transitions. With all the change going on, people moving into different levels of leadership, this was incredibly significant. 26% of the time, it was to serve as a sounding board. We see this most commonly in the C-suite. Think about it this way, the high-level executives, they're not looking for someone to help them develop an action plan. They've already got that happening. What they're looking for is the opportunity to think out loud and to have somebody challenge that thinking and expand that thinking. And so a coach as a sounding board is a phenomenal tool for them. 12% of the time, a coach is brought in to address a derailing behavior. Let's be clear on something. It is a huge investment for the company to hire a coach. If they're investing in that individual at that level, it means they want that person to be successful. It's that something's getting in the way and they believe it can be addressed and that person can and will be successful in the organization. And so that's the reason a coach is brought in. Now, a really significant insight came out of this study. In executive coaching, 76% of the time, personal issues are addressed. This makes a ton of sense. When you think about it, whoever we are, whatever we have going on in our world, we bring that to work with us. So what does that mean? If we're dealing with health challenges, financial challenges, relationship challenges, it affects us on the job. By having a safe space for that to be addressed, the people who are working with the coach can address it, and then they can focus on what they're doing at work, and they become more productive. So it absolutely makes sense. ICF was behind a study that looked at the reason individuals hire a coach. If an individual is paying out of pocket for a coach, sometimes it is, and most commonly, by the way, to optimize their own performance, increase their own productivity, back to wanting to be successful in their career, to improve communication skills, whether it's interpersonal, written, or public speaking, expand career opportunities, and again, we saw the research on that, to increase their self-esteem. When we think about it, most commonly what gets in our way is ourselves, and believing in ourselves, having confidence, and believing we're deserving of whatever it is. They hire a coach to improve their own work-life balance or manage a business. And this is becoming increasingly common where people are moving into that role of being an entrepreneur or a small business owner, and they're really good at the product or their service. Where a coach partners with them effectively is how they're running their business. So these are the reasons why people hire a coach. Behind all of that, and I know this is a very US-centric quote, think about it this way, in the US, people are very much looking at the bottom line, and it's a powerful statement. 600% average return on the cost of coaching. That's phenomenal. What it tells us is that for companies, it just makes good business sense to have a coaching program and have coaching happening in the organization. In terms of the bottom line impact, my guess is the study by Metrics Global is one of them that was looked at when the magazine put that article out. It is one of the more commonly cited ones. There's another one by Manchester Inc. Triad Performance Technologies did one. There's a number of different studies. At Metrics Global, they found that coaching had a 529% ROI. And when they looked at employee retention, the ROI jumped to 788%. Absolutely phenomenal. This is going to become increasingly significant in our post-pandemic world because people are now looking at, okay, do I want to stay in this job or look for something else? And what's going to keep them there is their boss. And so having a coach is making a difference. A completely different way of coming at this was a study that was done by Public Personnel Management. They said when organizations provide training, they increase productivity by 22.4%. Whereas when they combine training and coaching, they had an 88% productivity gain. Makes a ton of sense when you think about it. Training is to provide information. Coaching is partnering with the individual who was in that training saying, what did you learn? How are you using that information? How's it working? What do you want to adjust? So that you have that follow through. An additional study really highlights this. Xerox Corporation said 87% of skills change brought about by training or development is lost if you don't have the follow-up coaching. So absolutely, it's a powerful tool for making that difference. When somebody is deciding who to hire as a coach, what are they looking for? The two main things. They want to know the coach has experience in a similar setting. So what does that mean to all of us? If you want to coach people in the C-suite, they expect you to have been a CEO? Not necessarily. They do want to know that you've worked around that space or in that space. What they're looking for is, do you understand their world? That's what they want to know. They also want to know that you have a clear methodology. That is what you're seeking in your coach training, is the clear methodology. Let's dig into that. The staircase to success coaching model is basically an analogy, taking our coaching competencies and talking about building a coaching relationship and comparing that to building a staircase. When you build a staircase, the first thing you do is put a framework in place. In coaching, what is the framework you're going to put in place? Well, as with any profession, it starts with training. And through that training, you're developing your competency as a coach. And of course, learning and living the ethics for the profession. When you have that framework in place, you're ready to start adding steps. What's the first step in a coaching relationship? It's an agreement. We talk about this agreement happening in 3 phases. The first phase is an initial conversation with somebody about what coaching is and isn't. The second phase is a formal agreement. In most countries of the world, it is a written agreement. In some countries, that's considered an insult, and so it's a verbal agreement. It's what's appropriate for the client. And then the third phase of the coaching agreement happens every single coaching session. It's where the coach is asking the client what they want to focus on during the session, the agenda for the session, how they'll know the session was successful for them, and what that success in the conversation means to them. Once that agreement is in place, you're ready for the next step. In a coaching relationship, it's understanding. This is happening on many different levels. One is the coach understanding the client. Who are they? How do they think? How do they process? How do they function? What's their context? What's their experience, their background that influences their thinking and their choices? It is also a common understanding between the coach and the client in terms of the client's focus, and then exploring their opportunities and possibilities, potential barriers, challenges, their resources, everything about what the client wants to accomplish. During that process, rapport is going to be the #1 indicator of success. Rapport starts by ensuring the client is aware of the coach's training and ethics so that they know they can trust their coach, it's a safe space. And it's further developed by the coach demonstrating understanding of the client and where they want to go. With that level of rapport, you're supporting the step of communication, which includes the coach listening and listening deeply on many different levels, summarizing succinctly what the client is saying for clarity, and asking powerful coaching questions, which in turn supports the step of exploration, exploring everything it is for the client, and through that, moving to the step of strategizing. The client is developing their strategy for moving forward, and they're moving forward to the doorway called success and the way they define success. This is how that coaching relationship is built effectively and in service to the client. In terms of the process for coaching, it is very common in the coaching world to start with what we call an introductory session. This is an initial 20 or 30 minutes. And in that time, the coach and the client are getting to know each other to make sure, hey, this is going to be a good fit. This will be a good partnership. It's also an opportunity for the client to experience a taste of what coaching will be like, to ask questions about how it works and come to that common understanding. When the coach and the client say, yes, this is a good fit, yes, it's going to be in service to the client, yes, we're moving forward, then we do what's called an opening session. This is powerful in terms of the coach really getting to know the client, understanding them and their context. It also is setting up what's really important for the client. You're exploring what they want in all different areas with the recognition that it's all interconnected. Now, of course, one of the big challenges, think about this way. How many of you know someone that had a New Year's resolution and 2 weeks later, they don't even remember what it was? Just as that happens commonly because we get back into our routines and our habits and life is busy, it can happen to a coaching client. So it's very, very important that we partner with them so that they stay focused on what it is they want to achieve and motivated to do the work it takes to create that meaningful change. So in the second session, the way we develop it, it's all about setting up that client maintaining focus and staying fully engaged. On an ongoing basis in a coaching relationship, it is up to the client to prioritize what it is they want to work on, to develop their strategies and action plans. And of course, it's very important that progress and success be acknowledged and celebrated along the way, because that supports their ongoing motivation. The average coaching relationship will last 12 months. A best practice commonly is to start with an initial engagement of 6 sessions because it is a process over time. It does vary tremendously depending on the type of work the coach does. Whatever it is in the work you do as a coach, here's what happens when it is time to complete that relationship. It's important that as a coach, we're setting the client up for the long term. How will they maintain and build on the progress and success they've experienced during the coaching relationship and carry that forward for their own long term? And then we have a closing conversation where the client is evaluating their return on investment for the coaching. And while we call it a closing session, we're letting the client know when there is a time that coaching will serve them again in the future, and this particular coach makes sense for them, they're welcome to come back. That's a brief description of the process. Hopefully that's answering those questions that came in. Let's move into talking about the pros and cons of coaching certification. A study was done back in 2017 where 83% of people who had a coach said they felt it was important for the coach to have certification or a credential. My experience tells me that number is probably growing because people are increasingly aware. Think about it this way. If you're going to hire an attorney or a financial planner or a therapist do you want to hire somebody who has no training on the competencies of that profession or the skills they're supposed to apply, and somebody who hasn't been trained on ethics and they're not accountable to a code of ethics? Of course not. Yes, we absolutely want a professional at this level to be trained. What are the pros and cons of certification? I'd love to say it's all pros, and realistically, we know the big cons are time and money. And the bottom line is this: if it weren't for the time involved in coach training and the money involved in coach training, it's a no-brainer. It simply makes so much sense for people because the skills developed in coach training serve us both as professionals and as human beings in whatever we do. On the pro side of coach training, whatever your career, it's truly an advancement opportunity. Increasingly, coaching is seen as a leadership competency. So somebody in any type of leadership role is served well by developing their coaching skills. In addition to that, there are many professions that request or require coach training. It is considered a competency area for people in HR, talent development, or development, and more. It is a tremendous opportunity in terms of different roles in the workplace. It is also an opportunity for business development. If you want to be a coach in business, whether it's part-time or full-time, coaching certification is going to make sense. How do people decide where to get certified? That's one of the biggest challenges. I remember looking into this myself, and it took about 6 months to figure out what all the different opportunities and choices were and what made sense. What I'm going to share with you here is what people have told us. So first off, looking for an organization that is credible. And I'll give you a couple of clues, things you can look for in terms of determining credibility. It's also important to know that you will have tools that you can use immediately as a coach, ongoing support. And at the Center for Coaching Certification, we offer a ton in terms of ongoing support. It's a professional development opportunity because in addition to being approved by ICF, we're also accredited to offer CCEs, which serves people with other professional designations that require continuing education. It's a personal growth and development opportunity, and absolutely fabulous in that regard. And one of the extra bonus benefits we offer all of our graduates is a dashboard from which you can give a number of different assessments at wholesale, which are incredibly beneficial to many of your clients. Sometimes you use them with the client, sometimes you don't. It is done for in service to the client, making sure it's of value to them. When you are doing that, being able to give it at wholesale is phenomenal. In terms of the time and money equation, those top cons for coach training, let's look at how that plays out. There are training programs that are a few hours. My first caution to all of you is this: any training program that is less than 30 hours will not be approved by the ICF as coach training. It might be continuing education that coaches do after they've been trained. It has to be at least 30 hours to be approved as coach training. There are also programs that you can invest 10 years in. Think about different university degrees, for example. It runs the gamut. At the Center for Coaching Certification, our certified professional coach program is 30 hours. The certified master coach is 35. The certified coach specialist 35, and the coaching experience class 30 hours. As far as location, of course, the pandemic has changed this tremendously. It used to be people did a lot of travel went to different locations. Clearly, while online was available before, just about everybody is now offering online. At the Center for Coaching Certification, we offered both pre-pandemic and continue to offer both as we're coming out of that pandemic. In terms of cost, you will see programs that start as low as $400 and continue on as high as 20 grand. Think university. At the Center for Coaching Certification, we give you options in terms of a la carte. And then we also do packages of the programs that support you moving toward a credential with the International Coaching Federation. And these cohorts combine the training hours that are required with the mentor coaching that is required to move you toward earning the credential. If you want to earn the ACC credential with the ICF, you're completing the training hours and the mentor coaching in a cohort working toward that. If you have done the initial training hours and you want to move on to the PCC credential at the ICF, there are additional training hours. Now, sometimes people in that cohort have already earned their ACC, and sometimes they've completed the initial set of training hours and take that cohort to continue the journey. And then, of course, the PCC cohort combines all 4 training programs so that you have 130 hours of training and you have the mentor coaching to move toward that credential with the ICF. It is important to note, while ICF does not do coach training, they approve coach training programs. The only place you can apply for a credential is through the ICF, the International Coaching Federation. So that speaks to whatever training program you look for, make sure it is approved by the International Coaching Federation. So look for the logo on the website of whatever coach training school you're considering to make sure it's there. Of course, we hope you come with us. At the same time, whatever you do, make sure it's ICF approved. Above and beyond that, what are additional indicators? We are accredited by the international accreditors for continuing education and training. These professional development credit hours are accepted by many colleges and universities, also by many organizations where continuing education is a requirement to maintain a professional designation to stay in different roles. Above and beyond that, we have been approved by the Association for Image Consultants International for the Certified Professional Coach Program because it's a skill set that makes sense in that space. As a bonus tip, something else to look for is the Acta Logo. Here's what Acta is. It's the Association of Coach Training Organizations. It is to coaching schools what ICF is to individual professionals. It is a group of coach training schools that is interested in ongoing education, growth, and development as a school. It has ethics for the schools, it has competencies for coach trainers, and programs to teach coach trainers about how they're teaching ethics. So it's a huge factor, a huge consideration. When you go to the website for an organization, looking for these logos is really helpful in determining credibility. Above and beyond that, something that we find is really important is who's in the class, because the discussions that occur during class are so valuable. What we're excited about is where our participants come from. They're members of ATD, the Association for Talent Development. the Society for Human Resource Management, the Human Resource Certification Institute, also from the Financial Planners Association, the National Small Business Association, the Association of Image Consultants International. Of course, we see people from the International Coaching Federation, they're continuing their education, from the International Association for Continuing Education and Training. We see a lot of mental health professionals, consultants, project managers. We're seeing more and more change management professionals. Absolutely, people that come to the table with a wealth of experience and incredible skills that transfer into what we do as coaches. Significantly, people that come have a passion for empowering others. The ICF core competencies that you want to be sure to develop in a coach training program are organized into 4 different categories. So there's 8 competencies. The first category is the foundation for the coaching relationship. And within that category, you have demonstrates ethical practice. The code of ethics for coaches is different than what you see in other areas. Of course, there's a ton of overlap, and there are a few things in there that are extremely important and very different. To give you a brief example, some of you have heard of what's called HIPAA. It's confidentiality requirements of medical information. Well, the standards for confidentiality in coaching are higher. It's important to know what they are and to know how they work. We also have the competency of Embodies a coaching mindset. Digging into, okay, what does that mean? How does that work? How do I actually have that competency, develop it, apply it, demonstrate it? And so covering that's essential. Co-creating the relationship starts with establishing and maintaining agreements, both for the engagement as a whole and for the individual sessions. And then it moves into cultivating trust and safety. This is where you're developing that rapport with the client. It includes maintaining your presence. We talk about how easy it is to be distracted by other things around us or what's going on in our own head. And as a coach, it's absolutely essential. We are totally present with the client in that moment. And what are the things we can do for that? Under communicating effectively, we have the competencies of listens actively. This is with intention to understand and to understand on many different levels and to evoke awareness. This is through the exploration, the questions that are asked. And then cultivating learning and growth has the competency of facilitates client growth, supporting them, partnering with them, as you saw in the definition, to maximize their own personal and professional potential. Very specific things that we do as coaches in partnership with the client to support that. Who benefits from coach training? It is, as mentioned, a competency for anyone in a leadership capacity. It's applied effectively in training and education. Consultants and managers, of course, benefit the application in their roles, as do project managers, change management professionals, service providers, and of course, business owners. Think about it this way. It's all about communication, the interaction we have with people, the questions that we ask, being proactive, solution focused, and moving forward. How does it apply in terms of career opportunities? Here's a few statistics, and the chances are these are familiar to many of you. 86% of employees think their bosses are uninspiring. Wow, Isn't that scary? Think about the impact that has on employee engagement and productivity. And think about the difference that is had when the boss has a coach and is aware of the impact they have and what they can do. Think about when the boss learns coaching skills, what a difference that makes. Harvard Business Review said increasingly coaching is integral to the culture, the learning culture. It's a skill that good managers at all levels need to develop and deploy. In terms of our own personal growth and skill development, coaching skills enhance and upgrade communication skills for us, our people skills, and goal setting, which is how we truly do move forward. As far as a business opportunity, the range people pay for a coach, and I'm giving this in US dollars, it does translate in many European countries. There are parts of the world where, of course, the equation is different. Think about in relationship most commonly to what mental health professionals are paid in your country, and it'll be comparable. In the United States, the range of $100 to $3,500, which is huge, the median at $500. So let me break that down. We commonly see career coaches, personal coaches, health or wellness or life coaching in the $100 to $200 per session range. We commonly see business coaching working with entrepreneurs or small business owners in the $200 to $400 range. And then executive coaching working with higher level executives in the corporate space in the $400 to $600 range. So that hopefully clarifies what those numbers mean. The most recent number is that 2.356 billion US dollars are being spent worldwide on coaching. As of November of last year, the International Coaching Federation had 36,948 member coaches, of which 20,633 had earned the ACC credential with the ICF. 14,870 of them had earned the PCC credential with the ICF. Only 1,445 had earned the MCC credential with the ICF. So that gives you a sense of where it goes. In terms of it being a business opportunity, fabulous, whether it's an add-on service, a part-time business, or a full-time business. When you look at the training programs at the Center for Coaching Certification, first off, in terms of how we approach this in our model, number one, we're looking at competence. And here's what we look at. Everybody that comes to the training comes with strengths and skills. You already have them. And you're coming to learn coaching, the coaching competencies. So what we're doing is creating that synergy between what you bring to the table and how those strengths and skills are applied in a coaching relationship and in the role of coach. Confidence is absolutely essential. We talk about confidence that the coach has in themselves as a coach, in the coaching process, and in their client being successful. It is equally essential that the client have confidence in the coach, confidence in the coaching process, and confidence in themselves being successful. And what does that take? It takes tools, it takes being fully empowered and an awareness of how this is a factor and how to ensure an appropriate level of confidence. It's also significant to have choice. You as a coach have choice in the different processes available in coaching. Your client has choice. The coaching relationship itself is about discovery, strategizing, and then partnering. And even that partnership is a choice. You're making sure you're a good fit together. What does it look like in the individual classes? The Certified Professional Coach program starts with a series of live online classes. We sometimes have people say, okay, can I just do this on my own? ICF does have requirements for live contact hours with your trainer. So you definitely want to maximize what you gain, and it's part of meeting that requirement. So the classes are live. The first one is called About Coaching. It's an exploration of what coaching is and is not, and a dive into the coaching competencies. From there, we move into ethics, and we have fun in that class. We're going to talk case studies and scenarios. We're even going to have a debate. So come ready for a fun conversation. For understanding your client, we ask everybody to bring your sense of humor. We're talking about people. We all have strengths, we all have weaknesses, and how does that play out? So come ready to really engage in how we can be aware of who the client is. Then we move into communication with very specific techniques in terms of how to listen, how to be clear and direct in your communication, what you say, and how to ask coaching questions, because coaching questions are completely different than any other type of question. From there, we move into a class on focus and motivation with some incredible tools for ensuring the client is focused and moving forward effectively, and to support their motivation. With each of the online classes, there is independent study work you do. Each of the online classes is 90 minutes. The homework assignment for each will average 90 minutes as well. Then we do a group session. It's an opportunity to ask questions, explore whatever you want, potentially look at information in terms of the resources you'll be provided, process for next steps, whatever's significant to you. Then you move into the coaching practicum. And during the coaching practicum, you will be partnered with others in the class, and you will have an opportunity to be the coach, to be the client. So important to experience being coached if we're going to coach others, and to observe coaching, to sit back and be the fly on the wall. At the end, we walk you through a case study that you'll be completing and submitting. It serves as a fabulous review and as your final. So after certification, we do have a free monthly Q&A call for all graduates. We offer recordings on the business of coaching and marketing yourself as a coach for those of you doing it as a part of full-time business. We also have recordings of coaching sessions. And we offer continuing education opportunities on an ongoing basis. As a matter of fact, you can visit our website and see all the upcoming continuing education. Many times they're free programs. The Certified Master Coach program, the next level of training, truly deepens your understanding and application of the coaching competencies. We start with a class on group and team coaching. And the reason we start there is that we'll be doing group coaching during the program. So we're laying the foundation for it. Then we're doing a deeper dive into the competencies. So ethics and agreements, obviously speaking to your use of the code of ethics, embodying that, embodying the coaching mindset, having the agreement. In coaching process, we're talking about creating that safe space, building that trust. We're talking about staying present as a coach. In people in communication, we move into the listening that you're doing, the exploration process that's happening. And we also talk about supporting client growth in creating change with confidence. Then we do a class talking about time and money. Think about it this way, just as these are the number one con, if you will, to coach training, these are influencing factors for your clients in most of the decisions they make. And so an awareness of that and of other influencing factors is significant to us as coaches. We do have a final debrief of the coaching practicum. In the Master Coach program, your homework's split in half. You do half before class and half after class. We do give you questions to respond to. The coaching practicum portion includes the group coaching. So there are 6 scheduled sessions. One of them, you will be the coach for the group, and in the others, you'll participate in the group. And it's fabulous. So many people tell us how much this opens their eyes and their opportunities as a coach. We also do individual coaching. You'll interview classmates and be involved in choosing who your coach is and being chosen as a coach. And then you'll schedule individual sessions where it's the coach, the client, and the trainer, so that you have lots of one-on-one attention. And then you'll be completing a final report, writing about a coaching engagement. The Certified Coach Specialist program, for those of you going on to the PCC, gives you the opportunity to select a designation, whether it's in business, career, executive life, or wellness. And as you move through the program, it does influence your focus. So some people will be focused on the business coaching side, others will be focused on life coaching. It's your choice, and it'll play into the assignments you do and the conversations you're having. The online classes in this program start with coach competencies and strengths. And in terms of strengths, one of the things we talk about is subject matter expertise based on the type of coaching that you're going to do. And you're self-assessing based on which of these specialist designations you're doing. Then we move into engaging and understanding your clients, and how you do that is different based on the type of coaching you do. The coaching relationship itself will have nuances based on your area of specialization, as will client priority management. We also do a session looking at the client's future. And we talk about challenges and trends for you as coach. The coaching debrief will be of the practicum. In this class, we give you reading to do ahead of time and then a homework assignment after each class. The coaching practicum will again include group coaching, where you'll have an opportunity to be the coach and an opportunity to be part of the group. And then your individual coaching sessions, and again, a final report. The coaching experience class is all about practice, practice, practice. So we do a webinar to review ICF's core competencies and how to evaluate the coach. We talk about the group and team coaching, a deeper exploration of that, a look at team coaching competencies, and then schedule the practice. So there are 6 group coaching sessions, and you'll have a chance to be the coach again. And you'll have 5 individual sessions as coach, 5 as client, and 5 that you observe. And then we have a debrief at the end of the program, all about practice, practice, practice. The mentor coaching that is offered is available for people pursuing any of the 3 levels of credentialing with the International Coaching Federation. We do have 3 individual sessions of an hour each, one of which is reviewing a 360 of your self-coaching. We also are reviewing recordings of your self-coaching, up to 3, and we'll discuss the PCC markers and the demonstration of those. The objective here is to partner with your mentor coach so that you have the recordings to submit with your application. There are 5 90-minute group sessions that are focused on discussing the coaching competencies and practicing the application in your coaching work. The resources included with each of the programs offered include all of the class materials, coach login page when you graduate with a wealth of resources for you, the assessment dashboard so that you can give assessments at wholesale. And we set up multiple opportunities. So we have a blog, and we love inviting people to guest blog and get themselves out there, to guest present one of the free webinars, to get published. Each year, we put out a book with chapters written by graduates of the book. It's fabulous in terms of learning to write for publication and having your name on a book. You're also invited to guest podcasts. We do podcasts every week. We have an online searchable directory of coaches and a business development team who is actively seeking contracts and placing our graduates in those opportunities. Lots of support available to you. So what happens now? First off, you've invested your time checking us out. I'm happy to return that favor and offer 30 minutes. So what will happen is, after this session, I'll load the recording on YouTube and I'll send a link to that to everybody. When I send that, and it does take time to get that recording up there, you can reply to the email and ask for a link to my calendar. And that will give you the opportunity to schedule a free 30-minute conversation. The application that you complete for coach training in and of itself is free. It's a chance to look at what's required, to think on paper in terms of what you want out of this. And it's a chance for our trainer to get to know you. When you know which class you want, the way to hold your spot in that class is to pay the registration on it. And yes, classes do fill up. So if there's one that works for your schedule, you definitely want to grab that. I thank you, each and every one of you, for being here, for your time, for your interest. I'm happy to hang around and respond to questions for those of you that have them. And I do realize we used our time. Those of you that have other things scheduled, thank you for being here today. We look forward to connecting and being of service. And thank you for the comments in the chat box. I'm glad this was helpful to you. I'm glad it answered a lot of your questions. Definitely look forward to connecting. In looking at what's in the chat box, looks like we covered it on the questions. So glad to hear that. That's good news. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here.